Interested in doing business with the government? Helping businesses understand and win government contracts is an essential service of the New Jersey SBDC network. Our procurement specialists can help you obtain registrations and certifications, prepare bids, and even match you with contracting opportunities from agencies that buy your goods and services. Want to learn more? Visit us online to get started on your path to success today.
So pleasant good afternoon to everyone. My name is Priscilla Liebert-Calder. I am the event coordinator here at the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark. And on behalf of Dr. Tendai Ndoro, I would like to welcome you to our webinar on NJ state certifications and private contracting. For those who are not aware of the SBDC, which stands for Small Business Development Center. We are a resource center for the Small Business Administration, and we provide one-on-one business consulting and training services to businesses and entrepreneurs in the state of New Jersey. We are one of 12 centers in the NJSBDC network. Each center is responsible for one or more counties. We are responsible for Essex County. And our center is hosted by the Rutgers Business School and funded through a partnership agreement between the SBA, Rutgers University, and the New Jersey Business Action Center. The mission of the SBDCs is to provide individuals and small businesses with no-cost consulting services. That's where we provide you with a business consultant to assist you in different areas of business, whether it is in government procurement and certification, such as the webinar that you're attending here today. It can be, in starting up your business. You need help with a business plan. You need help in the area of marketing, digital marketing. You want to start an import-export business, or you need help with accessing capital. Many businesses right now are trying to apply for the PPP. And so we have consultants with expertise in each area, in different areas that we can assign to you at no cost. This is paid for by your tax dollars. Now, we also provide training services, which includes webinars and workshops, such as the one that you're attending here today. And these are either free or at a nominal fee, and they are given, they're statewide. So there are different programs in different SBDCs. So you're free to attend any of the training that is statewide. It's just that when it comes to the one-on-one consultation with one of our consultants, you have to reach out to the local SBDC in your county. Okay, so for the benefit of those who are on today's webinar, we have muted the audio, so we will be taking questions via the Q&A feature here on Zoom. You can also pop your questions in the chat, but the Q&A is preferred, as we sometimes tend to lose track of questions if there's a lot posted into the chat box. That way in the Q&A, your question stays there and we're able to check off if the questions was answered or not. So it brings a little bit more order to the webinar. A copy of the replay of this webinar will be emailed out along with a copy to the slide presentation. So be sure to check your email in about 24 to 48 hours. You'll receive a PDF along with a link to the replay of today's webinar. Okay, so it is now my pleasure to introduce to you the presenter for today, Miss Ginny Rock Bailey. Ginny is the owner of Rock Bailey Enterprises Incorporated, which is a human resources firm here in New Jersey. She is also a consultant here at the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark in the areas of certifications in human resources. Very popular for those who are, if there's anyone on this call that have dealt with our centers or have had the honor of working alongside Jeannie in getting the certification, it is one of the best experiences, and she has a very good track record of ensuring that all our clients are approved for these certifications. So it's a treat to be listening in today to her presentation. So without further ado, I will turn this webinar over to Jeannie.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. I hope everyone can hear me. I am definitely passionate about this service that I provide to the center. I'm not sure, Priscilla, if everyone can hear. Okay, well.
Yes, you're coming through loud and clear. You're fine.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And I wanted to, before we get started, I wanted to give you just a taste of the process and the presentation that I'm going to be giving to you and sharing with you this afternoon, because on, I think the date is January 21st, I will be hosting a full day workshop on more of the details involved in getting certified. Today, I'm introducing you to it. On the 21st, it'll be a workshop, because my goal is always to have the participants leave that workshop with a completed application. So today I'm going to go through the real salient points of how you get the certification, and also share some best practices with you on the decision that clients make to either submit a hard copy of their application or go online. So without wasting any more time, let me just give you a brief overview of the certifications and registrations and all I will be covering. The Small Business Enterprise Registration, which is SBEs, the Veteran Registration, which are the VOBs and the DVOBs, Veteran-Owned Business and Disabled Veteran-Owned Business, and our Premier Certification, which is a Minority Women Business Enterprise Certification. So that's for minorities, women, and minority women. And I'm going to go through that in a little bit more detail. I'm really focused on why it's important to be registered or certified. It's great because it's a marketing tool for your business. And it also ensures that our businesses, whether small or part of a protected class, have an economic opportunity to really compete and be a part of the business community in a broader sense. The goal of this session, again, is to provide that information to you on the process and benefits of becoming registered and certified as an SBE, VOB, DVOB, and MWBE. We are full of alphabets here. And I will be using them during the program. I'm really excited to share with you about the Small Business Enterprise Registration, because since my last workshop, I have had an opportunity to see how this registration has really helped our businesses. It is the only set-aside program in the state of New Jersey, and it's set aside through the Small Business Set-Aside Act. And what does that mean? That means that 25% of total dollar value of state and contracts are awarded to small businesses. And what are small businesses? As defined by our programs, by our premier programs in the state, it's 100 or less full-time employees. And how these businesses are categorized is by their revenue. And for those of you who have had some experience in getting certified or trying to complete a certification application, you know that so much of the focus and concentration is on how are you generating revenue? I ask every applicant, are you generating revenue? The best part about the SBE is the revenue doesn't drive the decision for you to get it. As a matter of fact, even on the application itself, on the hard copy, it asks for you to declare your revenue, and on the online platform, it asks you to define your or declare your revenue. But in actuality, it's really ensuring that you are a registered business in the state of New Jersey. And that's very important for all of our businesses. You must be registered in the state of New Jersey. And I sometimes I wear two hats while I'm doing this. I try to do the online and the hard copy, but because there's sometimes some confusion, I want to stick with the hard copy and then we'll go into the online platform because there are benefits in submitting both of them. So as I stated, the revenue generation for the SBAs is defined on the slide by categories. And the SBA, the small business, they determine on where you fit. And you look at these numbers, especially for some of our business, and we're like, I'm not making that kind of money. But that's another reason why it's not the focus of getting the SBE. The focus is to determine what revenue category you would be in. And even on the application, there is no focus on identifying what your actual revenue is. But I know on the online platform, if you are just applying for an SBE, it will not move. And this is a best practice. It will not move until you identify some kind of revenue. And I encourage my clients to put in $100 because that will allow the system to move. Whether it's a glitch in the system or not, I know that it won't move unless you declare it. But again, this small businesses whose gross revenues do not exceed category 1, 2, and 3, it's for general small businesses. It's before I go into the requirements, I just want to share with you that so many clients have availed themselves of just using the SBE, I'd say within the last 6 months of my experience, because they wanted to bid on state government contracts and opportunities. And this registration would allow them to do it. So one might ask, well, what is the difference between a registration and a certification? In order to participate in the SBE opportunities, you must be registered. And it's the only opportunity that has a set aside, where the certification, which I'll get into later, has a whole host of other opportunities for you, but requires more of you. But I have, in particular, especially with our disabled vets, I've had a number of them who have used this opportunity to generate revenue and participate in state activities because they were able to identify the RFPs or the proposals that would allow them to use their services or highlight their services to a bigger platform. Regardless of whether you apply for an SBE, an MBE, or a VOB, you will still be placed in what's called our NJSBDC directory, which is a free marketing directory for every certified and registered business in the state. And that's another wonderful opportunity for your business to be seen, not only by businesses or interested parties in the state of New Jersey, but throughout the country. So it's a wonderful opportunity. The requirements for the SBE, and this will be redundant because it is a requirement for every business that applies for a registration or certification. You must be independently owned and operated. Management is responsible for both its daily and long-term operations, owning at least 51% interest in the business. And you must do business and be incorporated in the state and have your principal place of business in New Jersey as defined by the following. 50% or more of its employees must work in New Jersey, supported by paid New Jersey unemployment taxes, or 51% or more of its business operation activities occur in New Jersey, supported by income tax or other business tax returns. The business must be a sole proprietor, partnership, or corporation with 100 or fewer employees. So often single owners or sole proprietors will say, well, am I eligible for this? Yes. I don't know of one business owner who doesn't work full-time in their business. So you check the box as a full-time employee because that's what you are. So when there's some question about, well, how am I full-time? And we dissect what they do. Like I said, I don't know one business owner who is not working full-time on their business. So that is the prevailing theme when you apply for these registrations and certifications. When it talks about independently owned and operated, it basically means that you're responsible for every action of your business. And we'll get into the different levels of our different organizational structures, whether it's an LLC, single member, or partnership, or a corporation. You have to prove to a certain extent, and I'll go into that you manage and you're responsible for both the long-term and daily operations. Why I'm spending so much time on this is because so often we as business owners don't realize, because we're in it. We're in our businesses all the time. We don't realize the extent of which our participation in our own business helps us propel our business to another level. Because we don't speak the language either. We work on our businesses. And as I work with my clients for them to see how important it is for them to do that until a certain point in their business when they can add on, whether it's part-time, full-time, or an intern, and you as a business owner start to work on the business. That will allow you to grow in a variety of ways. So that's what the management and the independently owned operated really attest to. If you're a single owner, fine, no problem. You're doing everything anyway. If you have a partner, it has to be declared what the percentages are. If it's 51% and 49%, then that has to be declared on the application. Fortunately for the SBE, you don't have to go into that detail. There is a section on the platform where it asks you to define if you're a partnership, and then you do put your percentages, but again, it doesn't interfere with you getting the actual certificate as an SBE. So if you submit the SBE application alone, and it takes longer if you submit it to the state as a hard copy, you are asked to provide a document called your Business Registration Certificate, your BRC, which is that card-like document that you get from the state. If you do it online, the state already has your employer identification number because it's included on your application, and they do all that work before you get to the next step. It's already confirmed that you're a registered business, that you have your certificate of formation or your certificate of incorporation and have filed your documents. So it allows you to move to the next step much quicker if you do it online. But again, I have not seen the level of interest by our small businesses with getting this SBE and what it's done for them. So I'm just sharing that with you for those who were not really interested in getting it or didn't know a lot about it. It is the only registration in the state that has a set aside. And the reason for that is there was a court order that declared that set asides in the minority women business certification were deemed discriminatory. And so we had to dismantle the program. But that was we've been informed that that is going to resurface through a number of diversity studies that's going on in the state. And I expect once we get to our new net level of reality, that again will be brought up. But the SBE is a bona fide, it's a bona fide registration that will allow you to participate. This is how you can submit the application online. And again, you're going to get this PowerPoint presentation, but it's the SBE online registry service. You can actually use this link to apply online for all of the registrations and certification. It is a service by the Small Business Enterprise for the state of New Jersey. I use it all the time. There are some hiccups in it. And when my clients bring that to my attention, I will call the state and find out, what's going on, because it's really an easier, more efficient way to submit your applications. But the main reason why it's so popular is it doesn't take as long to get a decision. It takes less time to get it if you submit your application online. However, there are some people, some businesses who feel more comfortable submitting a hard copy document to the state. And as of today, it's still accepted. I mean, I tend to think with the number of applications that are submitted online, that there may be a question about what is more effective and efficient for the state and its people power at some point. But as of today, and I'm venture to guess this year, you can still submit a hard copy application. And for those of you out there who may have some questions about how to do this, that's why I'm at the Small Business Development Center, to assist you in making this a seamless process for you. It can be overwhelming if you're not sure of what you're doing, and there is no question that shouldn't be asked. So that's on the SBE. To create a logon for submitting your application online, you have to have like I said, you have to log into an account with the SBE service. You've got to enter your business registration certificate. This is really interesting because so far I've just had to register the EIN number. So it's asking for the BRC now because it's a mixture of both, but always have your employer identification number and your social security number available so you can add it into the system. And if you're doing it online, like we suggest here, do not include your hyphens because your hyphens are looked upon as a number. So then instead of including 9 digits for your employer identification number, you're only including 8. And the system will continue. And then the state will offer you an additional identification number, additional information email, because there's something that's missing and they'll see it and they'll send it out to you, in addition to some other things. But your business registration certificate should be available if you're submitting the document online, but especially if you're submitting it as a hard copy, okay? And one clue, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but one clue to find out what the documents are that you actually need to have available to you before you go forward with completing the rest of the online profile is you can go online, create your login number, proceed, put your contact information in, and that point, it will ask you what you'd like to apply for. This is a tip. If you're applying for an SBE only, a drop-down will tell you what documents you'll need to upload. If you're applying for the VOB or DVOB, it will tell you what documents you need to upload. But where it really comes in handy is if you're applying for the MWBE, because then it lists all of the documents. We're going to go into that, but it'll list all the documents that you need. I tend to have my clients prepare every document that is required on the application. I would rather have them have more documents ready to upload than less, because the online platform is not a friendly platform. It'll time you out. So when you complete the hard copy application, you are to have the verification notarized, and then you send it to the address indicated here. On the online platform, they ask for an attestation statement, and that is to be notarized and uploaded. And that statement basically says that I attest that all the information submitted in my SBE application is true to the best of my knowledge. You sign it, it's notarized, and it's uploaded with your other documents. As a matter of fact, that's the first document that they ask for online, which is equal to the verification form in the hard copy package. And without the attestation form, you can go forward online, because it will ask you, have you completed all of your online submissions? And you say yes, and you keep going, but the state will send you an additional information email asking you to provide those documents that are missing. And that attestation statement would be one of them, because on their end, it does not allow them to go forward reviewing your documents. Just little tips. The veteran-owned business registration clearly is designed and focused on giving veterans a competitive edge in the procurement and the certification arena. I mean, who qualifies? It's there. Anyone who's been on active duty in the services named can apply for this registration. And you have to have a DD-214 that confirms you were honorably discharged. Where I get the most questions about VOBs and DVOBs is there are people who have been in the National Guard that wondered whether they were eligible. Sans looking at the qualifications for this benefit. And I have done a number of inquiries for people who have been in the National Guard about their eligibility requirements. So yes, you are eligible for this. It'll be confirmed by your DD-214 that you were in the service or participating in the service, and you will be allowed to proceed. Again, the registration requirements are the same for each one. I'm redundant with them for those who are just looking particularly at a registration or the certification, but it also adds more credibility to why it's so important for you to understand the documents that you need to have available to you to not only do these applications, but especially now with the PPPs and the IDLs. So many of the documents that people needed to participate and apply for those programs, they had available to them through their experiences of applying for certification and registration. And I think that especially now when we're called upon to do so many things with our businesses, if we want to participate in these programs, I think these are excellent opportunities for us to get our business in order as far as our documents are concerned. Whether you have a safe deposit box or a strong box that's flame retardant in your house, this is the best opportunity for you To get your certificate of formation, certificate of incorporation, get your other treasury documents together so that if called upon to participate, you have them ready. So again, you must be independently owned and operated, and at least 51% of the business is owned and controlled by persons who are veterans. So in situations where I've had a spouse of a veteran want to be included on the application as the lead, we couldn't do it because she was not the veteran. But the veteran is 51% and she could be 49%. You must provide at least one code, a construction-related code or a non-construction related code for this. And the codes allow Prime and the state to identify your services in a very formal manner. As informal as the codes may be, it's a very formal matter because you're promoted by your codes and your codes are included in the NJSBDC. And when primes and other interested parties are looking for business, are looking to do business in the state of New Jersey, they often look by these codes. Now, the unfortunate part about some of this information is that the construction and related documents that were online are hard to find, but we have them at the office and I gladly share them with you. And for those businesses that feel that they're not construction or know that they're not construction companies, there is a code that can be used for all non-construction or related businesses. But the document itself is divided into two sections. And so often our applicants, our businesses only look at the services part of this document. There is a section, the last 2 pages of it, that deals with professional services that may offer their services to a construction or related business. So read the whole document. There's something in there for everyone, but more importantly, you cannot move forward if you don't identify a code. This is also where you're introduced to providing your national code, your NACE codes. And it also asks for, I'm pretty sure it asks for the NIGP codes as well, but definitely your NACE codes because it's national in scope. This is our state SBE, but the document itself is national in scope, and it gives you the opportunity to look at your business from a national perspective and identify the codes that actually reflect what you're doing and state them on your application. Further along, you would also want to include these codes on a capability statement, but that's another conversation. The principal owner must provide a copy of their federal, as I said, their DD2 and 4, indicating honorable discharge or release under honorable circumstances. We give the link here so that you could get the application, but for everyone that's participating in the webinar, if it's difficult for you to find, I will send them to you. I will send you a copy of all the applications that you would need. And one reason why it's difficult to find some of these is because I want to say while we were sleeping, but during the beginning of the pandemic, when the state had to work from their home, so many things happened online, which changed the website. So you complete the application. Again, it must be signed, dated, and notarized if it's a hard copy, and attach your DD2 and 4 to the hard copy application. And I would also have you attach your BRC to it, just in case. Now, the price for this is $100. It's $100 for the SBE. It's you can get 2 for 1 or 3 for 1, depending on what the state is offering at that point. You can get an SBE, and I think I really think that the VOB and the DVOB may be waived because of a number of circumstances, but I'd rather include the price than say it's free and then have you go and it's not. But generally it's $100. You can pay by check or money order if you're sending it online, and this is the address where it should be sent. But there's also, when you do it online, you can use your credit or debit card, and there is a $5 filing fee. When you submit the hard copy, there's no fee. There's no processing fee. It's just $100. And so many of my clients have used a money order because they know, and I'm sharing this with you, that so often, especially now, as caught up as they want to be, the hard copy applications have taken longer because of the volume. I know during the summer, early fall, they were so behind because people were still submitting these hard copy applications. I believe they're more caught up, maybe not as caught up as they want to be, but it's safe for me to tell my clients, if you're really not sure, submit a money order and move on. No judging. The focus is for you to get these registrations. And if they allow a money order, why not use it? And then you can go on with your life. And again, this too would be included, this registration would be included in the NJSBDC, which is our marketing database. For the disabled veteran-owned business, the requirements are the same. You have to have been participated in one of the forms of service. You have to have your business registered in the state of New Jersey. The difference is that you have to have an award letter declaring your percentage of disability with the application. Upload it if you're online, or include a copy if you are submitted a hard copy. That is the only difference with the requirements for a DVOB. As a matter of fact, I'm working on some of the applications now for DVOBs who have determined that their eligibility to get a contract in the near future, we use that terminology not loosely because we know contract is going to be assigned, will allow me to fast track these applications. Actually, if there is an opportunity on the table, which is asking if you have an, more VOB, DVOB, and MWBE or MBE, if you have an opportunity on the table that you believe will give you more of a competitive edge, I can ask the auditor to fast track your application, which means it goes closer to the top, depending on how much documentation you can give me to support the request. It may go to the top because the goal of the state is for you to be certified and registered. The more registered business the state has, the more we can do to support and provide more opportunities for our businesses, our small, veteran, disabled, minority, and women-owned businesses. So I work very closely with the auditor. I'm on the phone with him more, I think, than, no, I think he likes me, but I think I'm on the phone with him more than most because I want to make sure that if I'm representing you, that I'm representing you to the best of my ability, especially when it comes to questions that you may have that are on the application. Because if the application has an error on it, especially on the hard copy side, it is not going to move forward. So I would rather have all of my clients complete a hard copy application, whether you're submitting a hard copy document or not, so we can review it and make sure that you're using the right language. And I'm going to get into that with you as we proceed, especially into our signature program. The next steps are the same. You complete the form, you sign and date it, And on the verification form for the SBEs, VOB and the DVOB, at the bottom of their verification page is an attestation, which basically says what the attestation that's required online says. But so often we omit it because we don't see it. I'm here to tell you that that omission can make you wait. So complete the entire verification form and look for the attestation at the bottom and sign it and have it notarized and attached with your copy that you're sending in. And again, it is sent to the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services, the PO Box. And the registration will ensure that you're listed in the state's New Jersey Savvy database. What is really so, especially for businesses that are looking to really use the SBE and these other registrations immediately, is that if you proceed and submit all the necessary information for an SBE, you will get that certificate right away. If that's what your interest is on all of them, but in particular with the SBEs, at the end of the online process, there is a review of all the data that you've submitted on your business. I recommend each one of you review that information carefully to make sure that everything is true to the best of your ability and print it. So often clients will just say, it's okay, and go to the next step, but you'll need that information when you go to re-verify your registration for SB, for all of your certificates, but especially for these, because this is what we're talking about. You have to verify your SBE, VOB, and DVOB every year. The state sends an email, and since we don't normally get emails from the state, it goes into spam. You go on with your life and you're kicked out of the system if you don't respond when a year from the date that you got it. You usually get your email 30 days before. So I have my clients put a tickler on their calendars a year out to look for it, usually 30 days before it's due, because you can send it in 30 days, up to 30 days. So I have the clients look for that so they know that it's coming, and you can do it within that window. So don't wait till the last day. Do it. I mean, and there have been times where the state has allowed me to open up and allow the client to submit their verifications, but more times I've received a no because the state says you have to stay on top of your business. Now there's an app called Gov2Go, G-O-V, number 2, Go, that I use and recommend to my clients to get. At this point, it will remind you of your annual reports, but I am working on the state to add the certification deadlines or reminders as well, because it's a tickler. It's an app that you can download. I know that it helped me tremendously during this time, reminding me about my annual report and the height of everything that was going on. And I was able to take care of it without a penalty. As business owners, penalties may take away from us doing the business that we want to do, may take away from us adding on someone that we need to hire. So I'm just sharing that with you. The app is Gov2Go. I see a question. The last two links don't seem to work. Not sure which link. If it's the links on the presentation, I can always provide you with another link. And it's just, it's just very different. I want to say that it's weird, but it's very different because when these changes were made, there were glitches. So rest assured that if there's anyone on this webinar that has a related problem with the certifications or registrations, you will be able to reach out to me. And to the best of my ability, I'll help you get through this, okay? So our, I want to say our premier program in the state is minority and or women-owned business enterprise certification. Minority business enterprise, women business enterprise, minority women business enterprise are qualified to participate in these programs. Again, percent of independently owned and managerially controlled, all of that is the same. It is the same. The questions that I've had about definition of minority, which is included on the applications, have been for those countries like Egypt, and some of the Mediterranean countries that are not identified as minority. But with those applicants, we have been able to walk them through the reason why, and if there was a question about the identity that one used to identify their minority status, it was always determined by the identification document that you submitted when you submitted the application. This certification is where the importance of having all of your documents is more necessary than in any of the other ones, because so much depends on your confirming that your business is who you say it is, in a nutshell. If you're a corporation, you're going to give your certificate of incorporation. You may have filed your articles of incorporation. It's gonna really determine who you say you are. Now, I have not submitted an application for an MWBE or a corporation, I'm thinking now, or even a LLCP or sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship is different because there are very few documents that are required for the sole proprietorship, because most are using their social security number. But I have not submitted a document that's proved the organizational structure online. I'm not saying that they couldn't ask for it. And that's why I ask for the clients to have all of those documents ready. But if you're submitting a hard copy for your MWBE or your MBE or your WBE, you have to submit every document that's included in this application. And during the workshop, I can go into more detail as to how you even look for this information, or how you request it through the state if you don't have it. Because to not have the information is for you not to be certified, or let's say for you to have to prove. Let me just look at this. Sorry. I wish I had my clicker here. I provide this document as an example of, in my absence, you can go to our state portal and get so much information about contracting and the type of information that you need to submit to the state. I have found this to be a useful resource, especially when it comes to questions that I've had that clients have approached me with that I haven't been able to answer. I can take this information and go right to our auditor and ask them to kind of ferret out what's important by organizational structure. But this is really a good place for you to go if you've got questions, because as you can see by its tabs, it covers so many necessary items that are important for our business. But I also want you to know that so many of those items are handled at our center as well. From startups to mature businesses, we are working with each one of you to make sure that you move the needle of your business to where you want it to be. And so before I get into really the details of this certification as well, let me go back a minute, is not everyone, and I want to watch my time in this, but not every business wants to be certified. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you won't generate business. It won't mean that you won't reach your goal in terms of revenue. And it's not our position to strong arm you to do it. It's my position to let you know what's available to you if you go through this process and you're successful. And there has not been one industry that we haven't been able to certify that couldn't participate in some way. But then on the other hand, what we're not doing, what we haven't had an opportunity to do for many businesses is after you get certified, what do you do with the certification? I definitely consult while we're going through the process on what you should be looking for, where you should be placing your energies, the kind of networking you should be doing to promote your business, how you should look at your organizational structure periodically and determine whether a corporate structure is to your advantage, whether managing, whether an LLC or an LLP is to your advantage, and for sole proprietors to make the decision, when should you scale up? But in no way are we asking you, or are we strongly encouraging you to be certified, because this isn't going anywhere. And you, as a business owner, have got to identify where you fit in, into this whole maze of opportunities in the procurement world, if you're an SBE, and in the certification world, if you're just going for an MWBE. In the private sector, and they offer, and it's not a state certification, but in the private sector, they're asking for a lot of the same information that we ask the employer or the business for a state certification. So it's really important, again, that you have your documents ready and available. If they're in a safe deposit box at your bank, I would suggest that you bring some copies home because of what's happened during accessibility to banks and banking hours and those kinds of things in the past. And it's not that I have some, eye into the future, but I just think that so often we need these documents when you least expect it or when you don't think you really need it. So I offer that as a suggestion to how important it is for you to find and secure your documents. And that's why, and the state's not doing it now. But that's why I thought it was so great when they were emailing the certificates, because you always had them in your email. Now, once you're certified, especially online, you can upload and print your certificates, whether it's for the registration or whether it's for the certification. You can upload them, but they're not online forever. I think they give you like 6 months. I just had a situation with a client who needed a certification that's been longer than 6 months. So we have to create some other magic to get it for him, but we will get it for him. But it's just really important for you to know that I serve the purpose as being your consultant and asking you the questions about where your business is today and where you see it going next year, and how this certification can help you. And sometimes the answer to that question is for you to do some research and to see where you can best use this certification to move your revenue needle and to gain more opportunities through networking. For instance, because I'm going to go into more detail about the actual document, I recommend that all of my clients who get an MWBE, WBE, or an MBE to pick out 5 counties in the state of New Jersey. And within those 5 counties, look at 5 municipalities and use your decision for selecting them to see what kinds of business they're doing in those counties. If you're in a county and you see a lot of trucks on the road and digging and building and whatever, and you're in construction, you may want to submit your certification to that county so it can go on that county list of available businesses, especially minority women and minority women and women in general. You want to make sure that in order to really participate in this program, that you make every effort to promote your business, because they are not going to find you. They're not going to look for you, except if they're familiar with NJSBDC. Then they can go into the directory, call the state. Many primes and private contractors has called our auditor's office and asked if they can recommend a business. I would take a more proactive approach and look at those cities within the state of New Jersey, those municipalities in general, and upload those applications to their platform and be a part of the decision that they make to bring you on. Okay, that's one way to make sure that you're not just a certified business that's certified waiting to be recertified, that you're proactive. So again, my certification requirements are basically the same. You have to have 51% interest in the business. And I say 51% interest because if it's a minority-owned business, the minority must have 51%. If it's all minority-owned business, then you would calculate up to 100%. That's not a problem. But if it's not a single member business and you have a partner, the state requires us to have partnership agreements. And in those partnership agreements, I look for the management and administrative designees. And the one who has, if this is possible or probable, the one who has 51% should demonstrate in the partnership agreement that they really manage a majority interest in the business. And you can designate what that function is, make decisions. You have the one that has 49% and they're financial, that's fine, but designate that in the business. And I share with my clients that these partnership agreements in a way are like wills, because you designate in a will who you want to get what. In a partnership agreement, in the event that the partnership is dissolved, you don't have to worry about who should get what. It's in the partnership agreement. And I know that our auditor goes through every line to make sure that the management and the daily operations of the business are identified. And so much of that is done ahead of time, because if all of you become certified and you are the successful business that receives a major state contract, one of the reasons why the certification process is so important on the other end is because that prime knows that you've been vetted by the state. There are certain questions, certain issues, or certain requirements that they look for that they know has already been covered because we've done it on our end. And the small business development centers, it's our job to make sure that we represent you in the best light, especially when it comes to something like this, because it's so important. So I look at the partnership agreements. I'll offer one. I look at, you know, the background and where some of these things are, some of these um, functions, services, responsibilities are coming from between the two partners, because you want to make sure that in the event that a partner wants to leave or someone passes away or a partner passes away, that you're covered. You don't want to have to deal with that during the issue, whatever it is. You have your partnership agreement. It can be amended. If it's amended during the year, during the first year that you're certified, that would be one of the changes that you would make on your verification at the end of your first year. We recalculated the percentages in the business. The state may ask for that document or it may not. But those are the kinds of changes that the state's looking for to make sure that you are protected. And again, I think the beauty of these certifications and registrations is that it doesn't matter what your organizational structure is, you can participate. A sole proprietorship, which is usually defined as a home-based business, one person, they can participate. A single member, a partnership in a limited liability organizational structure can participate, and corporations can participate. The caveat is that you can't have more than 100 employees. 101 employees kicks you out of the game. And I smile because I've had people who have been making a lot. They've been very fortunate to make a lot, have had 101 employees. And we don't talk about what you should do with that one employee. I just tell them that they're not eligible. And it's like, come back when someone is terminated or leaves. I want to talk about the documents that are required for participation. So let me just go ahead for a minute. And it's really important. Question 9 on the application lists 13 documents that, regardless of whether you're doing an online or a hard copy, that meet and reflect the organizational structure of your business. So a sole proprietorship would submit the least number of documents because of their organizational structure, and also because they're using their social security number for the business, which most do. Many have EINs. So you want to make sure that if you're submitting a hard copy, that you should indicate that it's not applicable if the question doesn't relate to you. For instance, if you're a sole proprietor and one of the questions are declare the number of shares of stock you have, well, you're not required to do that. Neither is an LLC or LLP. So for the reader of your application, instead of them thinking or assuming that you did not complete that because it was an oversight, eliminate that thought. Just put NA where it's not relevant. Any incomplete hard copy application that is submitted to the state will not be processed. So for all of the clients who submit the hard copy, you wait 4 weeks for them to review it, and then for it not to be completed, I could probably move it up, but it's important for you to know that for me, time is money for you. So I want to make sure that all the questions are answered on the hard copy application, because on the online platform, in most instances, it's not going to allow you to go forward, but it's not asking you for as many documents. Again, this is the go-to for it, but with the SBE application, with the SBE online link that we gave you, that is the easiest one to use. You complete the application, hard copy again, notarize it. make sure that you, at the bottom of the verification page, sign it, and you can send it in to this address. Regardless of what, um, regardless of what process clients use, I will track the applications for you. If you use a hard copy and you send it in by snail mail, we look for it to get to the office in about a week or so. Then once it gets there, I will contact the auditor to see if he received it. And then we start to count down our days and how long it would take them to complete it. So if you use the Uniform Certification Service, which is the online, again, this is a summary of it. You apply for the certifications in the following areas that we went over. And it's indicated on the first profile. What's also interesting is that if you use your application that you complete in draft for your online submission, the questions are not in the same order as they are on the hardline application. They're divided by disciplines, but the information that they're asking for is the same. So instead of trying to look and see what they are, especially when it comes to your codes, it's right there on the hard copy application. And it makes the process a lot easier and faster. Again, you create a login, use your taxpayer employer identification number, and then the trick on this is it asks for the first four characters of your business name. So people forget, owners forget the first four characters, and they may put the first four letters of their business name, like Rock Bailey. So I put RB. No, it's ROCK. That's what they're looking for. And so I'm just giving you these tips to allow you to move quicker through this process. If you don't have a My New Jersey account, I suggest that if you're going to do it online, get it first. Go on to the SBE link, have your My New Jersey account number, and then when you're ready to complete your application, you've already gone through that process. I can tell you that it's very difficult but not impossible to get your password. If you forget your password, it's not impossible, but it may take longer time than you have. So secure your user ID and your password in a really accessible place so you can flow through this process. If you already have an account, you can just log in, have your password, and it'll take you to the next slide, which talks about what services that you're interested in applying for. The questions, again, are not in the same sequence, but appear on the slides. The questions for certification and registration are the same and appear on the slides as indicated on the hard copy application. Selecting certifications reflects the consolidation of all of the applications. So it will ask you if you're an SBE, if you're a DVBO, it'll ask you if you're a minority business, a woman-owned business, a minority woman-owned business. I would suggest that a minority woman-owned business check that box instead of going women and minority. It allows you to do it, so do it. The other designations that apply to you, check that box. So I just wanted to share some other things with you. These are the links for the National American Industrial Classification, which is your NACE codes, the construction and related craft codes. I give it because the state says that they're active, but I have those if you need them. So reach out to me because I've had clients that said they weren't able to find them. What I also find is interesting also is that when you look for those codes, not the NACE codes as much, but construction and non-construction related industrial codes, you will find some for Georgia. You'll find some for Florida. If you do a Google search, I always put in NJ. I always include NJ. And it's not to say that the codes aren't the same, but for my clients, I have more leeway to defend why they chose it than if they chose another code from another state. And it's not wrong because they may be the same, but I just always, for safety's sake, I always include NJ. So it's NGIP, NJ, construction codes, NJ, and NACE is census because it is national. So I'm going to look at some of the questions if there are questions. Let's see, there's also one of them. Let me go on by if there's a question that I haven't seen, please let me know or let Priscilla know. Let me share this with you. The 9 questions that are on the MWB application are there for a reason. When it speaks to, and I'm going to go down them for you, but in the workshop, we're going to go through them. When it speaks to a statement about your business, you can write anything you want, not anything you want, but a statement that reflects your business on the hard copy, and it could be a dissertation. On the online application, it's 255 characters. So clients spend a lot of time whittling down their about me on their web pages to 255 characters. So you want to make sure that you're able to say what you do with keywords. And those keywords are often those words that I recommend for you to use when you're looking for your codes. Look for words that describe your business. If you're in massage therapy, look for health and related because massage may not be there. If you're in if you're in food and it's mobile, look for mobile food services or look for services that you provide in your food truck that you can include the code. Look for words that actually describe what you do. And it's also synonymous with words that you use to identify your webpage. So I'm just saying that is a way for you to complete the online search. Number 2, it asks for the pertinent documents. For a corporation, you would give your articles of incorporation, your stock certificate and stock ledger. You would give your certificate of formation if you're an LLC. If you're a partner, you give that and a partnership agreement. And you want to make sure that you cover your bases. So other key documents are your resume. The resume sometimes is the hardest part for the client to design because their focus is more on a resume that's developed to get a job. This resume is not for you to get a job. This resume is the objective of this resume that the state is asking for is to increase revenue, to identify your niche market, to add on to your existing business. That's the objective, not to seek employment. And keeping with that theme, your first experience on your resume is your position in your company. And then your other experience follows that. So my first experience on my resume is president of Rock Bailey Enterprises. And then my supporting experience does not have to reflect human resources or certification, but they're looking for how they're basically looking for, without saying, how you decided to go into this business. Did you have experience in it? Were you introduced to somebody who had experience in it? Or was this your passion? Now they're looking to try and build a story for you. And that's very important. Another challenging document has been the bank certificate, bank statement. So often businesses look at that statement as the monthly statement you get from the bank. It isn't. It's a statement for hard copy submissions that include when the account was opened, the kind of account it is, who are the signatories on the account, the address of the account. And they want that on a statement from the bank. So during the last year, it was very difficult to get those statements. So because the banks weren't open and there was no one at the bank that could give it. So I would ask the state if there was something else that we could use. Could we give, or could we use the original documents that they submitted or that they completed when they submitted their application? I mean, you try to move the needle and ask for those documents that the state would allow. Could we do that? And in some cases we could. In others, there were online, the client had online access and we're able to get some statements that way. But it took a lot of negotiating. So my lesson learned was have those documents available. I mean, it's very difficult for a lot of us who've been in business for a long time to have our original application for our bank, but it's the lesson learned for me and for my clients and that I share with my clients is to ask the bank to give you that type of information. Ask them to give it to you so you could have it on file. Don't date it. I mean, I'm sure the bank's not going to do it without dating it, but if they do, we can always work around it because sometimes it's good to use those and you may not need it for a few years, but you may need it again. What I have learned is that, you know, our situation has changed. It's not the same. Another really interesting document that's required is your lease. That is the last document on the application. If you are not in a brick and mortar and don't have a lease, your lease is between you and your business. If you're a home-based business, you write a lease between, give myself as an example, Ginny Rock Bailey and Rock Bailey Enterprises. Rock Bailey Enterprises is renting space from Ginny Rock Bailey. You have to have a lease. Rock Bailey Enterprises pays Ginny Rock Bailey $100 a month. There is a formula to determine what your amount should be, and it takes into consideration your profit and loss statement, and it also takes into consideration cash on hand, that's in your balance sheet. So I'm not going to recommend that somebody puts $500 in for their rent when they can't afford it. We look to see what is reasonable when it comes to a lease. Your identifiers, most people use their driver's license. Most business owners use their driver's license because this is where it has the picture of the applicant and it also has a gender. So it does satisfy a number of the bells and whistles that are the requirements, but that doesn't mean you can't use your passport or other items that are listed on the form. I think another question that businesses have is when it comes to identifying a board or and it comes to identifying investors, if it's only you, that's the person that you indicate for C and D on a hard copy. If you have a partner, you indicate that person on the hard copy as well, and you do it online. The difference is the addresses that you're given are home addresses, not the business address. And you give the percentage as indicated in the partnership agreement or on the certificate of formation or incorporation. It all ties in. On your certificate of incorporation is also the number of shares that you have. So you want to make sure that you include your stock certificate and your stock ledger, which is required in your application, online and hard copy. And we can discuss how you can get those. Because for so many of our businesses, it's, this is the first time that we're doing it and that we're applying. And some of the businesses that have been around for a while, corporations that is, can't bind their documents. So we have to either I design them, or if they filed their articles of incorporation, we file the necessary papers to get them. This is another reason why, I suggest that you have a safe deposit box at a bank, which isn't as expensive as even I thought they were, or you have something that you can keep your documents in online. The other example that is somewhat difficult for applicants is your profit and loss or income statement and your balance sheet. If you have an accountant, they can provide that for you. If it's requesting 3 years of taxes and you have not been in business 3 years, you submit your tax statements that reflect the years that you've been in business. It will be determined that you haven't been in business for that long when the state looks at the application in terms of when did the business start. For those who wonder about you worked, you ran your business but didn't make enough money to file the taxes, the state will accept a letter stating that I only made $10,000, $5,000, $7,000 in 2020. Therefore, I did not submit taxes, because they can always verify it through your EIN number or your social security number. But what I like about that is that it doesn't stop the process. You can still continue to apply for the application. And that's really important, because now I'm seeing more people apply for the certification for a variety of reasons. And I don't want it to stop. I want the momentum to continue. Make sure that you have your attestation statement notarized. And then everything must be submitted online as a PDF or in a JPEG. It won't even accept a Word doc. So you want to make sure that it's saved as a PDF. And when in doubt, have somebody look at the documents to make sure that they match what the system was asking for and what the hard copy application was asking for. I mean, I think I've gone through the most important parts of applying for the certification. And like I said, we will go into more detail in the workshop, because I think what's also important is this, and I don't want to overlap into our other workshop, but I think what else is very important is that for a corporation, the language on these applications is a president. And I joke, I tell my clients that, especially my women clients that are corporations, I tell them, you could call yourself goddess. Goddess is your title. But for these applications, you're a president or a CEO. If you put any other title down in your corporation, they're going to send it back on a hard copy. For a managing member is the appropriate title for an LLC and an LLP. You're a managing member. And for a sole proprietor, you're an owner. And that prevails throughout all of the documents all of the applications that we have discussed today. The only time that you're able to use the title that you call yourself is when you identify who is the contact person. If it's you and you're a director or you're president, certainly include that on the hard copy application or on the online document. And many businesses has changed their title from director, executive director, which is definitely, it's not a business title that I see that much. It's more for nonprofits, but they've changed it to the managing member or the managing partner because it keeps in line with what the state is looking for. And for all those people, all those businesses who are submitting a hard copy application, I ask you, if you know that your penmanship is illegible, don't complete an application in writing. Have someone type it out. Have someone write it out for you legibly. Because if they can't understand it, it's not moving forward, especially now with the backload. They're not going to try and figure out information about your business. It could be pertinent information about your business. They want it to be legible. And I also suggest that if you think about, if you respect the reader and you want this certification or registration, that you take your time to go over every question. Make sure your mailing address is your mailing address and that your primary address is the address that is included on your documents. Because if it isn't, and you interchange, or if your lease has the mailing address, which we could explain, I think, depending on the situation, they want to see the primary address, the address that you registered the business in throughout your documents. It's usually on your taxes, it's on your lease, it's on, in many cases, if you're a home-based business, it's on your driver's license. And they have a checklist and they're looking for all of these things. Applicants who do fail to comply with the requested additional information or documentation shall be considered non-compliant. If given an additional information email or sent an additional information email and you do not reply in the time allotted for you, all of the work that you've done would be for nothing, for naught, because they're going to disqualify the application. So as soon as you get it, print it, tack it up on your board, get the information that they need, submit it to the state, and allow them to proceed. When in doubt, call your business development consultant, regardless of where you are. If you use us, call me. Let me assist you in getting this done, because it's not like this is the hardest thing you've ever done, but in terms of getting your documents together and make sure that they have all the information that the state is looking for may take time. So why not waste the time, but why take the time that you put into the application for nothing? And then in some instances, there's a time gap in when you can apply again. I haven't had anyone that's had a time gap because we were able to complete it right away. But one thing that they are not friendly to is that if you say that I forgot, I didn't see my email, you have to start all over again. If I wasn't able to answer your questions, I'll make sure that I get back to whoever submitted them, and I'll answer you directly. I want to thank you so much for participating in this process. The registration for SB and MB, I'll review this. They're for 3 years. You re-verify every year. How much is the registration and certification for all of them? They're $100. Online, it's $100 plus a fee. And if you apply for your SBE and your MWBE, you will be able to apply for 2 for the price of 1. You have to submit an annual verification form for your registration and your certification. If you submitted your application as a hard copy, so often they want you to do it as a hard copy. If not, you can submit it online. You can actually submit it online. Is there a filing fee for your annual documents? No, there isn't. There's no filing fee, but the penalty is not worth it. So it's better to stay on top of that and stay on top of your annual report because that's one of the documents that the state would be reviewing for you online. So you want to make sure that you stay on top of those documents. I want to thank you so much. This is a little bit of information about my company. You can certainly reach me at the SBDC. As Priscilla said, you will be getting a copy of this presentation. And if those of you who need hard copy applications, you can reach out to me through the SBDC and I will make sure you get them. Thank you so much. Much success with completing the applications. And remember, I'm only an email or a call away. Have a great day.
And thank you so much, Jeannie, for that presentation. If we have no more questions, we'll begin wrapping up the session. So for those of you that are on the webinar now and you would like a one-on-one session with Jeannie, you can again visit our website, www.rnsbdc, and request counseling. Also, I just want to remind you that if you somehow didn't catch all the details and the information in this presentation, you will be receiving a replay as well as the presentation slides in 24 to 48 hours, okay? So on that note, we will now begin wrapping up. Again, I want to thank you all for coming out today and for participating. And I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day.